So what is the meaning of this title? The purity of devotional service. It means that devotional service is completely independent and is not dependent upon any other external cause. So just to give you a brief introduction of this chapter before we begin reading, are you able to see the PPT in your screens?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can.
We can see only book, the
Okay,
title.
the book,
Yes,
not the
Prabhuji.
PPT.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, the purity, of devotional service, it means that bhakti is self-sufficient and independent. That means bhakti doesn't need any preliminary qualification of birth or a Vedic sacrifice or varnashram like any other path. In all the other paths of self-realization, be it karma kand, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, varnashram system, any other path that we may see, then it is dependent upon certain set of conditions. It depends upon the time of executing that practice. It depends upon the place. It depends upon the necessary. Uh, there are some prerequisites that are required in all other paths. But in case of bhakti, pure devotional service, it is not dependent upon any other factor. In it itself is completely self-sufficient and independent. It does not depend upon the pious birth. It does not depend upon rituals of purification, and it does not depend upon varnashram dharma. So these would be the subject matter of this chapter, and Srila Rupa Goswami will establish our devotion, the purity of devotional service, one by one by quoting from different scriptures. All of the previous instructions imparted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his broad statements can be summarized thus. As long as one is materially inclined or desirous of merging into the spiritual effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of pure devotional service. Next, Rupa Goswami states that devotional service is transcendental to all material consideration, and that it is not limited to any particular country, class, society, or circumstance. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is transcendental and has no cause. Devotional service is executed without any hope for gain, and it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. It is open for all without any distinction, and it is a constitutional occupation of the living entity. So this was discussed in previous chapters, the desires for bhukti and mukti. As long one has desires of bhukti and mukti, they are compared to of a witch which controls a person, and one would not be cannot enter into realm of pure devotional service. And now in this chapter, Srila Rupa Goswami will establish this fact. It is not limited to any particular country, class, society, or circumstances. Why? Because it is constitutional occupation of all living entities. It is open for all without any distinction. In the Middle Ages, after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya's great associate Lord Nityananda, a class of priestly persons claimed to be the descendants of Nityananda, calling themselves the Goswami caste. They further claimed that the practice and spreading of devotional service belonged only to their particular class, which was known as Nityananda Vansha. In this way, they exercised their artificial power for some time, until Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the powerful Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya, completely smashed their idea. There was a great hard struggle for some time, but it has turned out successfully, and it is now correctly and practically established that devotional service is not restricted to a particular class of men. Besides that, anyone who is engaged in devotional service is already at the status of being a high-class Brahmana. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's struggle for this movement has come out successful. So you have heard that how Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur they had opposed this idea that bhakti can be executed and can be preached only by, specifically the worship of deities, by the persons who are born in this family lineage, which are called as Goswami caste, Jat Brahman. And we know how Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, uh, practically throughout his life, it was such a horrible situation at that time that until and unless you are born in those families, you cannot worship the deities, you cannot practice devotional service. It was as if it belongs to that particular caste only, and it has led to so many of social evils, and we see some of that reflection even in our present times. There is this idea that unless you're born in the family of Brahmana, you cannot act as a Brahmana, or anyone who tried to monopolize the idea of devotional service. For example, okay, anyone who is temple devotee, only he can preach or he can execute, or anyone who is a grahastha, only he can preach or only he can practice. So, based upon any mundane or material calculation, we cannot monopolize. Just like in any other way, anyone who opens up a business of any particular item, and let's say they are trying to sell something, the general tendency is we want to monopolize everything. We are the beneficiary of that particular act or business. Therefore, we should no other, we should not allow any other person to enter that business market, and we should be the only person to enjoy the results or to do that business. So that kind of mindset mentality does not work in devotional service. And anyone who tries to do that, they are severely defeated by the genuine bona fide acharyas. So devotional service, that's why Srila Prabhupada would always encourage, whatever you know, distribute the knowledge. Srila Prabhupada, he would told Saraswati, who was just 3 years old, Srila Prabhupada said she is the best preacher because whatever she knows, what did she know? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all the guests who would come, big scientists, big philosophers, big Vedantists, Srila Prabhupada would call them, would debate them, would ask them, do you know who is God? And they would give so complicated personalities, complicated answers, and this and that. And Srila Prabhupada would call Saraswati, who was just a 3-year-old child, and she would say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada would say, just see, this 3-year-old child, no, you don't know. She is a better preacher. She's the best preacher. So the idea is, whatever you know, share that with everyone. Second, devotional service, we cannot bar anyone from practicing devotional service. This is a movement of Lord Chaitanya, and people from all caste, all birth, all religion, all backgrounds can practice devotional service. Sometimes there is so much of fight between Hindus and Muslims, Indians and foreigners, this and that. We had so much of sectarian idea. But Srila Rupa Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Parampara had made it very clear. Srila Prabhupada would accept anyone who's agreeing to follow the principle of devotional service can make advancement. And he can attain pure love of Krishna. Doesn't matter what is or was your background. And we see from the life of Jagai Madai also. And Srila Prabhupada concludes here. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's struggle for this movement has come out successful. It is on the basis of his position that anyone can now become a Gaudiya Vaishnav. from any part of the world or any part of the universe. There has been an increasing tendency within even our movement. There was one discussion one time in one of the seminars, rising of Hindutva within ISKCON. We are Hindus, and those other persons like Muslims or left wing and right wing, they are destroying, and we need to protect, we need to establish Hinduism, all that. But here it is very clearly said that Hinduism, Christianity, Muslim, these are all bodily conception of life. Depends upon which birth of your area and family. But the devotional service is transcendental to any bodily conception of life. And each and every soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Anyone who is a pure Vaishnav is situated transcendently, and therefore the highest qualification in the material world, namely to be in the mode of goodness, has already been achieved by such a person. Our Krishna consciousness movement in the Western world is based on the above mentioned proposition of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, our spiritual master. On his authority, we are claiming members from all sections of the Western countries. The so-called Brahmanas claim that one who is not born into a Brahman family cannot receive the sacred thread and cannot become a high-grade Vaishnava. So this is their proposition. And we know how much criticism Srila Prabhupada had to face. They would openly, even when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj took a parikrama in the Vrindavan, so all the Goswamis temples, they closed their temples and did not allow the parikrama party or the devotees to take darshan. And some of them even threw stones on the parikrama party. There was such violent opposition. Why? Because it's natural. If anyone can become a Brahmana, number one, their income gets affected, because these Brahmanas are called for performing sanskaras, for performing yajna, for performing so many other things. So if anyone else is taking those positions, then who would ask them? And their family income would be affected. That's one of the reasons. That is why you would see even during the time of Lord Chaitanya, some of the Hindus only went to the Kazi and complained about Sankirtan. So why was that? Because Lord Chaitanya introduced Hare Krishna Sankirtan, and there is no need of paying to any Brahmana. And in this kind of sacrifice, there is no expense, and people and their income of the Brahmanas were getting affected, because people were not performing any yajnas, they were not calling any priest. And the movement of Lord Chaitanya, there is Sankirtan happening, which does not involve any cost. It's free of cost. Anyone can chant anywhere. You just need to come together and chant. What kind of expense is there as compared to what would ordinarily one perform during yajnas? So that's why those Brahmanas went to Kazi and complained about Lord Chaitanya. So similarly, this is happening even today. But we do not accept such a theory because it is not supported by Rupa Goswami nor by the strength of various scriptures. So we do not support such a theory that only a person who is born into a Brahmana, and so many places, birth is an important consideration, no doubt. If birth would not have been one of the consideration, Lord Chaitanya would not have told Bharat Bhumite Hoile, one who has taken birth in the land of Bharat Bhumi. Bharat Bhumite Hoile, Manushya Janmaja, Janma Sarthak Kari, Kar Parupar. Lord Chaitanya said one who has been born in the land of Bharatvarsha should perfect his life and should help others perfect their lives. Kar Parupar. So Lord Chaitanya is emphasizing on birth here, is it not? He's telling one who has been born in the land of Bharatvarsha. But to claim that the birth is a by default automatic qualification, number one. And number second, to claim that anyone who's not born in that particular family cannot render devotional service. We are against this. Generally, birth is one of the consideration. One who is pious takes birth in a higher family. One who has rendered some sort of devotional service but has not completed yet, he takes birth in a transcendental family. And we read in the first chapter also, one of the result of sinful activities is, so there was, chronic disease, litigations, and one of the consequences, birth in the low class family. So it does place, it has its own place. We are not, we don't have to deny it altogether, that it is no consideration at all. There's definitely consideration. But a person from any background, he can also render devotional service. It is not that anyone who is not born is not eligible for devotional service only. And secondly, birth does not give you automatically, it does not give you any rights or does not give you necessary qualification. Just like a person who is born as a son of lawyer, he still has to go to university, he still has to acquire his degree, he still has to practice the profession in order to be called as a lawyer. Taking birth in a family of lawyers would definitely give him a necessary environment that would support him towards this cause. But simply taking birth does not give that person necessary qualification. So similarly, the main criteria are Chaturvarnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. And of course, this is talking about Varnashram, but here we're talking about devotional service, which is transcendental. Even the material Varnashram the criteria are Guna and Karma, quality and activity. Then what to talk about devotional service, which is transcendental to the bodily concept of life. Okay. Anyone who has not read in the last 2 days, if you have not
May
read,
I read Prabhuji Haribol?
yeah, please.
Srila Rupa Goswami specifically mentions herein that every man has the birthright to accept devotional service and to become Krishna conscious. He has given many evidences from many scriptures, and he has especially quoted one passage from Padma Purana wherein the sage Vashish tells King Dilipa, "My dear king, everyone has the right to execute devotional service, just as he has the right to take early bath in the month of Magh, December, January. There is more evidence in the Skand Purana in the Kashi Khanda portion where it is said, in the country known as Mayurvach, the lower caste people who are considered less than Shudras are also initiated in the Vaishnav cult of devotional service. And when they are properly dressed with tilak on their bodies and beads in their hands and on their necks, they appear to be coming from Vaikuntha. In fact, they look so very beautiful that immediately they surpass the ordinary Brahmanas. Thus, a Vaishnav automatically becomes a Brahmana. This idea is also supported by Sanatan Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is the Vaishnav Guide. Therein, he has clearly stated that any person who is properly initiated into the Vaishnav cult certainly becomes a Brahmin. As much as the metal known as Kansa, the bell metal, is turned into gold by the mixture of mercury, a bona fide spiritual master under the guidance of authorities can turn anyone to the Vaishnav cult so that naturally he may come to the topmost position of a Brahman. Srila Rupa Goswami warns, however, that if a person is properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, he should not think that simply by the acceptance of such initiation, his business is then finished. One still has to follow the rules and regulations very carefully. If after accepting the spiritual master and being initiated, one does not follow the rules and regulations of devotional service, then he is again fallen. One must be very vigilant to remember that he is a part and parcel of the transcendental body of Krishna, and that it is his duty as part and parcel to give service to the whole or Krishna. If we do not render service to Krishna, then again we fall down. In other words, simply becoming initiated does not elevate one to the position of a high-class Brahmin. One has to discharge the duties and, please call, and follow the regulative principles very rigidly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
yes, this is the other extreme. So what quotations Srila Rupa Goswami is establishing? So which scriptures? So one passage is from Padma Puran. Everyone has a right to execute devotional service, just like everyone has a right to take early bath. Then in the Skand Puran, there is a quotation. In a country known as Mayuradhwaj, the low caste people who are considered less than Shudras are also initiated in the Vaishnav cult of devotional service. And when they are properly dressed with tilak on their bodies and beads in their hands and on their necks, they appear to be coming from Vaikuntha. In fact, they look so very beautiful, they immediately surpass our. So in the second sense, it also tells about the importance of Vaishnava attire. To put a tilak on your body and to put kanthimala are such essential and crucial aspects of our devotional life. Simply, if you are putting tilak nicely on your body, tilak nicely means what? Not just the proper shape, but if you chant proper mantras, Om Keshavaya Namaha, and there are 12 other places, Om Narayana Namaha, Om Madhavaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha, and you put that Urdhva Pundrak tilak on your body. So that itself will lead to so much of spiritual advancement in your devotional life. Not only yours, but anyone who sees you with the tilak, he will make devotional advancement. And to have neck beads, that there is a special mention of these things. So then Sanatan Goswami, he gives a very famous example that Srila Prabhupada quotes at many places. He gives a formula to make gold. Of course, modern scientists do not have idea about this formula, but there is a formula by which you can manufacture gold. So for that, you need a bell metal and you need a mixture of mercury. So when they react, that bell metal is converted into gold. And similarly, what is the analogy? That a bona fide spiritual master can turn anyone to the Vaishnav cult. And a Vaishnava is transcendental even to Brahmana. Just like a 500 rupee note, or just like if someone is doing post-graduation, that means he has already passed class 12. He has already cleared his graduation and post-graduation if someone is doing doctorate. So similarly, one who is on the level of a Vaishnava means he is already a Brahmana. But what's the other extreme? To think that in being initiated by a bona fide spiritual master is sufficient and all in all. To get a spiritual name, to get beads, to get some vows to follow. So, and if you have taken initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, and that is the end. Now you are properly situated. No, initiation, the word itself means it's a beginning, it's a first step in spiritual life. It's not the end. So now, if you have done assignment 1, can someone say there was one question in the assignment 1? What is meant by initiation? 2-word answer.
Beginning.
May I speak?
Yeah.
Devotional service.
Bhajan Kriya.
Yeah. Bhajan Kriya.
Guruji, हमारे past habits will not repeat. Our past habits, Prabhupada wrote that it is a sign that one will not repeat his past habits.
Yes. Initiation means Bhajan Kriya. And what is the parameter that your initiation is successful? There is no longer any attraction towards 4 regulative principles. So one has to follow rules and regulations very carefully. If one is initiated and not following rules and regulations or regulative principle, then is considered again fallen. So then he's not on the level of Vaishnava. So to save oneself from falling down, one need to render service to Krishna. And of course, this is not the highest aspiration, just to protect ourselves from falling down. We render service to Krishna because he's our beloved master. He's our constitutional position. So that initiation ceremony itself does not elevate you to the position of a high class brahmana. It's the following of bhajan kriya. How sincerely and how with what honesty you follow the bhajan kriya. That which leads to anartha nivritti. Okay, someone else can continue.
Prabhuji, can I?
Yeah.
Sri Rup Goswami also says that if one is regularly discharging devotional services, there will be no question of a fall down. But even if circumstantially there is some fall down, the Vaishnav need have nothing to do with the prayashchita, the ritualistic ceremony for purification. If someone falls down from the principle of devotional service, he need not take to the prayashchit performance for reformation. He simply has to execute the rules and regulation for discharging devotional service. And this is sufficient for his reinstatement. This is the mystery of Vaishnav devotional cult.
Yeah, this is a mystery of Vaishnava cult.
Practically, there are three processes for elevating one to the platform of spiritual consciousness. These processes are called karma, jnana, and bhakti. Ritualistic performance are in the field of karma. Speculative processes are in the field of jnana. One who has taken to the bhakti, the devotional service of the Lord, need have nothing to do with karma or jnana. It has been already explained that pure devotional service is without any tinge of karma or jnana. Bhakti should have no tinge of philosophical speculation or ritualistic performance. In this connection, Srila Rup Goswami gives evidences from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto 21st chapter verse 2, in which Lord Krishna says to Uddhava, the distinction between qualification and disqualification may be made in this way. Persons who are already elevated in discharging devotional service will never again take shelter of the process of fruitive activity or philosophical speculation. If one sticks to the devotional service and is conducted by regulative principles given by the authorities and acharyas, that is the best qualification.
Yeah, thank you.
This statement is supported in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay,
First
Mataji, we'll stop at 12:30. So it's a very important point, and we'll discuss on this tomorrow. It's about prayashchit. So let's say after initiation, one is not following, or one has fallen down from following rules and regulation. So what to do then? So it says the performance of devotional service in itself is a prayashchitta. It is not that you have to do any other prayashchitta which will qualify you for devotional service. No, devotional service is self-sufficient and is not dependent upon anything. So therefore, performance of devotional service in itself is a prayashchitta. And it is a quote from 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is why the purity of devotional service, the title of the chapter. So it's a major prerequisite for all other paths, be it karma, be it jnana, be it dhyan. That you need purity as a prerequisite to execute that process. But you don't need purity for executing devotional service. You begin devotional service, and devotional service will itself purify you. Only thing is you execute bhajana kriya, and that itself is a prayashchitta. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Fine. Today is Friday, so we'll meet tomorrow. And you can all practice these verses. We'll have again assessment. Someone is ready. We'll try to do on Monday of all the 10 verses that are there in the morning. So you have 2 days with you. You have 3 days, today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Keep practicing them. If you can just take out 15-20 minutes, you'll be able to get many of these verses. Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Guruji, just one quick question.
Yeah.
Somewhere it is written Srila and some places it is Sri Rupa Goswami. So how it is different?
Both are correct.
Okay. So is there any specific meaning of Srila? We write in several places in our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada.
Srila, I've never thought about it. I've already taken, but it's a very good question. What exactly we mean? I know the meaning of Prabhupada. Srila.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I'll find it out. What I don't want to speculate. I have some idea, but I'll confirm and get back to you.
Okay, sir. Prabhuji, thank you.
Anyone else knows the exact meaning of Srila? You can say. Anyone else knows the meaning of Srila? Every day we have been singing from so many years. What exactly is the meaning of this word, Srila? Okay, find it out. I'll also find it out.
Krishna Prabhuji,
Yes.
what I have heard before, it is actually a word which is used to show respect or reverence to a respectful person.
Yeah. What is the meaning of that word?
Because that is all I heard.
That everyone knows.
Hmm.
Here he was asking the exact meaning of this word.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, here it is mentioned that Shri means beauty and La means Leela. So one who is invested in beauty and power to understand the Leela of Krishna.
Where it is written?
Online I found it. There's a conversation between a guest and Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was asked that what do you mean by Srila? So the answer was Shri means beauty and La means Leela. So one who is invested with both beauty and the power to understand the Leela of Krishna.
Thank you so much. Can you please post this in the group also?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, fine. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.